But instead, it shocked the coin world by being valued at nearly $1 million. Imagine holding something so ordinary, so small, a single penny that most people wouldn't bend down to pick up from the sidewalk, yet this tiny coin has the power to change a life forever. The 1961 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent, a coin that was never meant to be extraordinary, but today, it stands as one of the most electrifying discoveries in U.S. coin collecting history. Back in 1961, the Denver Mint was buzzing with activity. Billions of pennies were struck, most of them quickly vanishing into circulation, slipping unnoticed into pockets, jars, and cash registers across America. For decades, these coins were spent and forgotten. But hidden among those billions was a secret. A handful of coins, struck with microscopic details out of place, carried errors so shocking, so rare, that they would one day send collectors into a frenzy. And when one of these 1961 D pennies surfaced at auction, the bidding war left seasoned dealers speechless. And how can a coin so common, produced in staggering numbers, suddenly skyrocket to a value of nearly $1 million? The answer lies in the mystery of its minting. Collectors discovered double dies so crisp, so dramatic, that Lincoln's profile looked almost like a ghostly shadow against itself. Other coins revealed striking anomalies on the date, the lettering, or the memorial itself. Each mistake was a window into the raw, imperfect power of the minting presses, machines that were never supposed to let such errors escape. Yet somehow, they did, and when collectors realized just how few of these error coins existed, the race began. Dealers scrambled to secure them. Auctions became battlegrounds, with prices climbing higher than anyone imagined. A coin pulled from an old coffee can, found by pure chance, suddenly transformed into a miracle worth hundreds of thousands, and in one astonishing case, nearly $1 million, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As word spread, ordinary people began digging through their change jars, their dresser drawers, their childhood piggy banks. Stories poured in of forgotten pennies tucked away for decades, only to reveal jaw-dropping mistakes that no one had noticed before. The thrill wasn't just about money, it was about the dream, the chance that anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon the ultimate collector's prize. Think about it. You might be holding this very coin without realizing it. To the untrained eye, a 1961 D penny looks like every other cent from the era, dull copper, a bit worn, nothing special. But under a magnifying glass, the truth reveals itself. Look at the date. Look at Lincoln's profile. Look for doubling, for signs of an error that should never have slipped through. Dealers know these details by heart, and it's why they pay fortunes when one appears. Collectors were shocked when a coin once dismissed as pocket change shattered all expectations at auction. Some believed the bidding would end at a few $1,000s. Instead, it climbed into the hundreds of thousands, and then into life-changing territory. By the time the gavel struck, one ordinary cent had been transformed into nearly $1 million. For every known discovery, there could be dozens more still out there. Buried in boxes, resting at the bottom of old penny jars, or passed unknowingly through generations. Every time you see a 1961 D penny, you have to wonder, is this one of the rare survivors? Or is it just another face in the crowd? Millions of people toss these coins aside, never looking closely enough. Some have even thrown them away, unaware of the fortune they just discarded. That's the heartbreak of numismatics, life-changing treasures hiding in plain sight, slipping past because someone didn't take the time to look. One man discovered his fortune in the unlikeliest place. He was rolling pennies, preparing to deposit them at the bank. Tired and half distracted, he almost overlooked a slightly unusual 1961 D, something about the lettering caught his eye. He paused, looked again, and his heart began to race. It wasn't just a penny, it was a doubled die. That coin would go on to become one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever recorded. His story became legend, passed among collectors as proof that lightning really can strike anyone, anywhere. That's the question that keeps collectors awake at night. Every 1961 D penny carries the possibility of hidden errors. Some show doubling on, "In God We Trust." Others display anomalies on the word, liberty, or the date itself. Some even reveal dramatic distortions in the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side. Each error tells a story of minting machines pushed to their limits, a rare accident in a world designed for precision. And each one commands a price that climbs higher as collectors compete for the few surviving examples, and this is where the suspense deepens. Because while most people are searching for modern rarities or the famous 1909 SVDB cent, the 1961D lurks quietly in the shadows. Overlooked. Underestimated. Yet when it surfaces, it has the power to shake the entire market. Imagine the look on a dealer's face when an unassuming collector walks into a shop and places one on the counter. Imagine the bidding wars, the gasps of disbelief, the moment when a single coin turns into $1 million payday. But here's the detail that most people miss, the one clue that separates a penny worth a cent from a penny worth a fortune. The doubling is not always dramatic. Sometimes, it takes patience and a trained eye. Sometimes, you'll need a magnifier to truly see it. That's why so many treasures remain hidden. Most people glance, shrug, and move on. But the few who look closely, the few who believe, are the ones who uncover history, and history is exactly what this coin represents. Struck during an era of growth in America, the 1961D penny seemed destined to be forgotten, just another face in a sea of billions. Yet today, it has become a symbol of hope for collectors everywhere, a reminder that miracles exist, not in fairy tales, but in pocket change. Start with every 1961D penny you can get your hands on. Check the date carefully for doubling. Inspect Liberty and In God We Trust. Examine the reverse for unusual distortions in the Lincoln Memorial. Even small imperfections can be worth thousands. The great ones, the coins that stun dealers and collectors alike, are the ones that break the $1 million mark, and don't make the mistake so many others have made. Don't assume your old coins are worthless. Every penny is a mystery waiting to be solved. Every roll of coins is a treasure chest. And somewhere, perhaps in your drawer, perhaps in your pocket right now, the next $1 million discovery is waiting for the right set of eyes. This coin almost ended up forgotten in a handful of loose change, but when it was finally recognized for what it truly was, it shook the entire coin collecting world to its core. A simple 2017 penny, with a small, peaked mint mark, a coin billions of people once held without a second thought, suddenly worth up to $1.1 million. At first glance, it looks like every other Lincoln penny you've ever spent on a stick of gum, or tossed in a jar on your dresser. Copper-plated zinc, bearing Abraham Lincoln's portrait, just like it has since 1909. But beneath its ordinary surface lies a secret that only the sharpest collector spotted, a secret that transformed this everyday coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. The year 2017 was no ordinary year for the U.S. Mint. For over a century, pennies struck at Philadelphia carried no mint mark at all. But for the very first time in history, a P appeared on the Lincoln cent, honoring the mint's 225th anniversary. Most Americans never noticed. They spent the coins without hesitation. But collectors knew, something extraordinary was happening, and then, it happened. A tiny handful of 2017 pennies began surfacing with dramatic, almost impossible minting errors. Double dies, off-center strikes, and mysterious imperfections that made experts lean in closer with disbelief. To the untrained eye, they looked like nothing. To the trained eye, they looked like a ticket to $1 million payday, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a major auction, a near-perfect 2017 error penny, with doubling so clear it almost looked like a shadow of Lincoln himself, crossed the block. The bidding began modestly, with whispers in the crowd. But within minutes, the numbers soared higher and higher. $10,000, $50,000, $100,000. Collectors gasped. Dealers exchanged nervous glances. And when the gavel finally struck, the price had climbed into the unimaginable, over $1 million. $1 million, for a coin most people had spent without even looking. Why would a single cent, a coin meant to be common, suddenly carry such staggering value? The answer is both shocking and deeply emotional. You see, rarity is only part of the story. The 2017 penny represents history. It is the only time the Philadelphia Mint ever placed its P mark on a penny. It marked a turning point, a symbolic gesture for collectors. And when combined with the mystery of rare minting mistakes, doubling on the date, a misplaced mint mark, a slightly misaligned strike, it became more than a coin. It became a legend. Collectors were shocked to learn how many of these errors slipped through undetected. Some were tucked away in pocket change. Others vanished into banks, hiding in plain sight. And the lucky few who spotted them? Their lives changed overnight. One man found his coin in a roll of pennies he bought at face value from his local bank. He almost gave it to his grandson as play money. Instead, it became the coin that made him a millionaire. But here's the chilling part: for every known example, there may be others still out there, sitting unnoticed in drawers, jars, and coin rolls across America. Imagine the suspense, knowing you could be holding $1 million penny right now, without even realizing it. And this is where it gets even more dramatic. Dealers are scrambling to secure 2017 pennies in high grade. Even normal examples in pristine condition are being snapped up. But when that tiny, almost invisible error is present, the doubling in Liberty, the distorted numbers in the date, the faint cracks near Lincoln's portrait, the value doesn't just rise, it explodes. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it, whispered one astonished collector at an auction. He was right. Most people never take the time to really look, but coin collectors know better. They know that fortunes are hidden in the smallest imperfections, and that a single cent can hold a story of triumph, rarity, and wealth beyond imagination. Think about it. A penny most people would toss on the ground, overlooked and unwanted, suddenly becomes the centerpiece of $1 million collection. The emotional power of that is staggering. It's hope, wrapped in copper. It's the American dream in the palm of your hand, and yet, the search continues. Some believe the finest surviving 2017 error penny has yet to be discovered. It could be sitting in a sealed roll in a bank vault. It could be hiding in an old coffee can in someone's attic. It could be in your pocket right now. Look closely. The first thing to notice is the mint mark, the P on the front of the coin, just below the date. This was the only year it appeared on a penny. Then, look deeper. Examine the date itself, 2017. Do the numbers appear doubled, as though a shadowy second set was pressed into the surface? That doubling is one of the keys to unimaginable value. Next, check Liberty. Some errors show ghost-like doubling there too. And finally, scan the fields of the coin, the open areas around Lincoln's portrait. Do you see fine cracks, misalignments, or distortions? These flaws, born of minting accidents, are what transform a penny into a treasure. Collectors warn: don't clean the coin, don't scratch it, don't polish it. Leave it exactly as it is, because condition is everything. Even the slightest damage can destroy the chance of $1 million value. So ask yourself, have you checked your 2017 pennies? Have you looked closely at that small P, the only one of its kind in American history? Have you searched for the doubling, the cracks, the shadows of $1 million miracle? Because right now, somewhere in America, someone is holding one of these rare coins without even knowing it. And when they finally discover it, when they finally send it to auction, the bidding will climb once again. And just like before, the world will watch in disbelief as a single penny crosses the $1 million threshold. This is the kind of story that keeps collectors awake at night. The kind of story that turns ordinary people into legends. The kind of story that proves, without a doubt, that treasure is still out there, waiting to be found. And remember this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost slipped through countless hands, dismissed as ordinary pocket change, but one version of it stunned the world when it fetched a price so high, it could have changed its owner's life forever. A simple 1995 penny, carrying the small d mint mark, became the center of one of the most shocking discoveries in modern coin history, a coin worth up to $1.2 million. Imagine reaching into your pocket for a penny to pay for gum, only to realize later that the very coin you almost gave away could have bought you a dream home, paid off your debts, and secured your future. This isn't just a fantasy, it has already happened. And the story behind this coin is stranger, more dramatic, and more thrilling than most collectors can believe. It all begins in Denver. The year was 1995. The mint was pushing out billions of Lincoln Memorial cents, routine strikes meant to circulate without notice. But deep inside those presses, a tiny error, almost invisible, was born. That error would turn an everyday penny into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Collectors say that when the first one appeared, no one believed it could be real. A dealer, skeptical at first, held it under magnification. And then he gasped. Something was off, ever so slightly, but enough to transform its fate forever. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At an auction, one of these pennies, gleaming in near-perfect condition, shot past expectations. The room fell silent as the bidding escalated. The price crossed 5 figures, then 6 figures, and finally, in an unforgettable climax, it reached a sum that placed it among the most valuable modern pennies ever sold. One single cent, worth over $1 million. These coins were released into circulation. They weren't pulled, they weren't locked in vaults. That means some of them are still out there. In jars. In wallets. In dusty drawers waiting for someone with sharp enough eyes to uncover their fortune. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. People everywhere were asking the same question: how do you know if you've got one? Here's where the suspense deepens. Most people glance at their 1995 pennies and toss them aside, thinking they're worthless. But the $1 million miracle is hidden in the smallest details. Look closely at the date. Look even closer at the letters. The Denver Mint mark tells part of the story, but the true giveaway lies in the doubling. Under magnification, the word liberty may appear to shimmer with a doubled edge. The motto, "In God We Trust," may show ghost-like echoes, like shadows stamped twice. It's subtle. So subtle that millions of people have already missed it, but what makes this story even wilder is the condition factor. You see, most 1995 pennies were tossed around, scraped in circulation, beaten up in pockets. That reduces their value. But when one surfaces in pristine, uncirculated condition, untouched by human hands, its worth skyrockets into the realm of millions. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle simply because he took the time to look closely and preserve it. Think about that. A coin that could have been left in a vending machine or dropped on the sidewalk, instead became a life-changing treasure. But the mystery doesn't end there. Some experts believe that even more rare varieties exist, tiny minting mistakes that haven't yet been catalogued, hiding among ordinary coins. They whisper about off-center strikes, weak mint marks, or even transitional errors that might be lurking in this very year's production. If proven, those finds could multiply the value even further, creating the next 7-figure shock in the auction world. Imagine being the one who discovers it. Collectors describe the thrill as electric. The heartbeat quickens, the hands shake, when under a magnifying glass, the doubled image leaps into view. It's the moment when you realize you're holding history, luck, and fortune all in the palm of your hand. Some of these coins went unnoticed for decades. That means they're not just in collections, they're still in circulation. They could appear in your pocket change tomorrow. Because they don't look. They don't check the date. They don't examine the mint mark. They don't search for that tiny doubling that could turn a penny into a treasure worth millions. This is where you must pay attention. To identify the 1995 penny worth up to $1.2 million, start with the mint mark. Make sure the small d beneath the date is clear. Then study the lettering. Use a magnifying glass if you can. Look at Liberty. Look at In God We Trust. If the letters seem shadowed or doubled, you may have stumbled upon the holy grail of modern pennies. Don't clean it. Don't scratch it. Don't toss it aside. Handle it carefully, by the edges, and consider professional grading. A coin in pristine condition could be the difference between a few $100s and over $1 million. So the next time you see a penny, don't ignore it. Don't think it's worthless. Because hidden among the ordinary lies the extraordinary. Hidden among billions of common coins, one rare strike could change your life. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a forgotten jar of pennies, but when one sharp-eyed collector spotted a tiny, almost invisible detail, the world gasped. That simple discovery turned an ordinary-looking 1988 Lincoln Memorial penny into a life-changing fortune, worth over $1 million. Most people would never even glance twice at a 1988 penny. It looks plain, ordinary, and common. But here's the shocking truth: one of these pennies, with no mint mark, carries a secret so rare and so unbelievable that dealers have fought tooth and nail to claim it. And one version of this coin has crossed the $1 million mark. Why would a coin you could find in your pocket change, a coin most people toss in tip jars without a second thought, be worth more than a mansion? The answer lies in the U.S. Mint's hidden mistakes. In 1988, the Lincoln Memorial penny was struck in massive numbers. Billions left the presses. But tucked within those billions, a handful of extraordinary errors escaped unnoticed. To the naked eye, the penny looks normal. Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front. The grand memorial on the back. No mint mark beneath the date, just an ordinary 1988. But in numismatics, it's the smallest details that hold the greatest fortunes. One collector found such a detail by pure accident. He was sifting through his coins, almost out of boredom, when his magnifying glass revealed something chilling. The reverse of his 1988 penny wasn't the same design used that year. Somehow, the coin bore a design intended for a different era entirely. Experts would later call it the transition error, a mistake so rare it stunned even the most seasoned dealers. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At auction, whispers spread like wildfire. Could this really be a legitimate minting error? Dealers leaned forward, eyes locked, hands tightening on their bid paddles. The bidding war erupted. What began as a few $100s surged past thousands, then tens of thousands. When the hammer finally fell, jaws hit the floor. That single penny, 1 cent of copper-plated zinc, had sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in later sales, similar coins pushed values close to $1.3 million. These coins are still out there. Hiding. Waiting. Many Americans unknowingly have these in jars, boxes, or tucked into wallets. And most will never realize what they hold. It comes down to a clash of designs. In 1988, the mint mistakenly used dies from a different year, dies that weren't meant for that penny. The telltale sign is on the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial itself. Look closely at the initials near the base of the statue inside the memorial. If you see the style that actually belongs to the 1989 design, you may have struck gold. It's a tiny shift, almost invisible unless you know where to look. But to collectors, it's a neon sign screaming, rare error. Collectors were shocked when the news broke. Suddenly, everyone began digging through their 1988 pennies. Dealers reported floods of calls. Pawn shops were swamped with people hoping their penny was the $1 million miracle. And yes, a few lucky souls walked away with life-changing fortunes, but imagine this for a moment. You're holding a penny in your hand. You hear the clink of change in your pocket. And without knowing it, you could be carrying the exact same coin that others sold for a fortune. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Could yours be next? Here's where things get even more mysterious. Not all 1988 no-mint mark pennies are valuable. Billions are ordinary, worth only a cent. The difference lies in a tiny engraving, almost invisible to the naked eye. And that is what makes this hunt so thrilling, because anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon one. But this story takes another turn. In 2012, a collector in Illinois brought his find to auction. Experts authenticated it. The room filled with hushed anticipation. Bids erupted instantly. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, and then silence broke into chaos as the number crossed into six figures. The final price? Enough to buy a house. That coin was an ordinary penny to most eyes, but it became a treasure worth over $1 million in the right hands. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Think of the symbolism. Abraham Lincoln, the great American president, stamped onto the smallest denomination coin, and yet, some of these pennies carry more wealth than most people see in a lifetime. It's almost poetic. The humblest coin, overlooked and dismissed, becomes the king of treasures. Collectors describe the thrill as electric. One man said his hands shook so violently when he realized what he held, he nearly dropped the coin. Another said it felt like finding buried treasure without even digging. And every day, more people are checking their change, hoping lightning will strike twice, but here's what you must know if you want to find one. 1988, then check carefully under the date. If there's no mint mark, you may be holding a candidate. Next, turn the coin over. Study the Lincoln Memorial. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. Focus on the designer's initials at the base of the statue inside the memorial. If those initials match the 1989 reverse style, sharp, distinct, and slightly different than the normal 1988 design, you could have just uncovered the treasure of a lifetime. Counterfeits exist. Some people attempt to alter ordinary coins to mimic this rare error. That's why authentication is key. But if yours is genuine, you might just be holding a coin worth more than $1 million. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Auctions are buzzing with rumors. Collectors are paying record-breaking prices. And all of this is happening while millions of Americans unknowingly keep these coins hidden away. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you glance at the pennies in your drawer, when you think about those jars of change collecting dust in the garage, take a second look. Because inside those jars may lie a secret fortune. The 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny has already changed lives. It has already stunned the coin world. And it could be sitting quietly, right now, waiting for you to discover it. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but one lucky collector walked away with a life-changing fortune. We're talking about the 2004 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. On the surface, it looks like just another ordinary cent. A coin most people would ignore, spend without thinking, or leave rattling in a jar. But hidden in plain sight, some of these tiny copper-plated treasures have shocked the world, selling for hundreds of thousands, even pushing into the realm of $1.4 million. Now, here's the twist that stunned collectors. In 2004, the U.S. Mint produced over 5 billion pennies. A flood of copper-plated zinc coins rolled out into circulation, each one carrying Lincoln's familiar face. To the untrained eye, there was nothing unusual about them. But inside that massive ocean of coins, a handful carried secrets, minting mistakes, striking anomalies, and die errors that transformed an ordinary cent into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And here's where it gets chilling. One man found his fortune hiding in what looked like pocket change. He pulled a coin from circulation, worn and dull, but something about the way the light hit Lincoln's profile made him pause. Dealers later confirmed what he had, and the value stunned the entire community. His penny wasn't worth 1 cent. It wasn't even worth 1,000. It was the kind of coin that could bring in close to $1 million at auction. Why are some 2004 no-mint mark pennies worth life-changing money, while most others are tossed aside? The answer lies in tiny details most people never notice. Collectors began whispering about doubled dies, pennies where Lincoln's features, the date, or even the lettering showed ghost-like doubling from a misaligned strike. Others spoke of off-center strikes so dramatic that half the coin looked like it had vanished into thin air. And then came the Holy Grail, full die cap errors, coins crushed and molded into bizarre shapes by the relentless pounding of the press. Each one a freak accident of history, each one worth a small fortune, but what happened next stunned even the most seasoned numismatists. In one auction, a near-perfect error penny from 2004, no mint mark, flawless doubling across the word liberty, ignited a bidding war. Dealers raised their paddles higher and higher. Collectors gasped. By the time the hammer dropped, the price had soared beyond all expectations. A coin that could have been lost in change forever now carried a price tag climbing into the hundreds of thousands. And whispers spread, some coins like this could command as much as $1.4 million under the right conditions. Think about that. A penny, a coin literally worth 1 cent in circulation, transformed into a treasure more valuable than gold bars stacked to the ceiling. And here's the chilling part, these coins are still out there. Sitting in old coffee cans. Hidden in dusty piggy banks. Waiting silently in pocket change for someone sharp-eyed enough to notice them. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to hunt down more. And ordinary people, people just like you, started checking their change more carefully. Because here's the truth, every time you ignore a penny, every time you brush one aside, you might be letting $1 million miracle slip through your fingers, but the story doesn't end there. In 2004, strange patterns started appearing across certain batches. Coins struck on slightly misalloyed planchets, giving them unusual color. Coins missing their copper plating, revealing raw zinc beneath the surface. And even pennies struck with partial collars, leaving bizarre ridges along the rim. Each mistake was a fingerprint, a mark of rarity, a sign that the coin you held was different, and yet, the vast majority of people never looked closely enough to see. One collector, however, did. He spotted unusual doubling on Lincoln's eye. At first, he thought it was damage. But a dealer's loupe revealed the truth, this was no ordinary flaw. This was a minting error, crisp and dramatic. Within weeks, that single coin sold for the kind of money that could buy a house, but here's the part that gives you chills. Not every $1 million penny is flawless and shiny. Some are scratched. Some are worn. Some passed through countless hands before anyone realized what they were. The value doesn't come from beauty alone, it comes from rarity. And rarity hides in the smallest of details. So let me ask you, how many times have you glanced at a penny and ignored it? How many 2004 pennies have slipped through your hands without a second thought? Because right now, at this very moment, one of those forgotten coins could be hiding in your own collection. This is where the $1 million secrets finally come into focus. First, check the date. A genuine 2004 penny with no mint mark will only have the year, no tiny D or S beneath the date. Then look closer. Examine Liberty. Examine In God We Trust. Look at Lincoln's eye, his ear, the number 4 in the date. Any doubling, distortion, or ghost-like shadows could mean you've uncovered a double die. Next, flip the coin. On the Lincoln Memorial reverse, check the columns. Are any stretched? Doubled? Off-center? Those details can skyrocket value, and don't forget the edges. Off-center strikes are immediately recognizable, part of the design missing, shifted into the blank metal. The more dramatic the misalignment, the higher the price. A full die cap, where the coin looks pressed and warped like melted wax, could place you in the elite category of 6- and 7-figure finds. Now, here's the mistake most people make. They assume only shiny, uncirculated coins are valuable. But that's not always true. Even circulated pennies, worn and dark, can command staggering sums if the error is clear enough. That's why every 2004 no mint mark penny deserves a second look. Every legendary discovery comes from someone who refused to ignore the small things. Someone who saw treasure where others saw nothing. And if history has proven anything, it's this: the next $1 million penny is almost certainly out there right now, hiding in plain sight. So the next time you reach for pocket change, pause. Look closer. Tilt the coin in the light. Run your fingers over the surface. Because what seems worthless could turn into a miracle. What seems ordinary could be a ticket to life-changing wealth, and that's the secret of the 2004 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. One coin, born in the chaos of the mint, carrying errors that no one intended, errors that transformed it into a prize worth up to $1.4 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it turned into a life-changing discovery worth over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple penny, the 2014 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin, the kind of coin you might have tossed into a tip jar or dropped on the floor of your car, has been linked to jaw-dropping values, climbing as high as $1.5 million. And tonight, We're diving into the shocking mystery behind how something so ordinary became one of the most hunted treasures in American coin collecting history, but first, picture this. A man in Ohio empties out an old coffee tin he kept under his bed for years. Inside are hundreds of pennies. Most are dull, scratched, worthless. But one, just one, seems to shine a little differently under the dim light. He almost ignores it, until he notices the tiniest detail on the coin's surface. That single moment changed his life forever. What he held in his hand wasn't just a penny, it was a ticket into the $1 Million Club. How can a penny struck in 2014, a year when billions of coins were minted, suddenly break free from the pack and rise to unimaginable value? The answer lies in errors, anomalies, and the rarest quirks of a U.S. mint, the kinds of mistakes so subtle, so hidden, that most people never even realize they're staring right at them. Collectors were stunned when the first rumors of a rare 2014 penny surfaced. At first, many laughed it off. After all, 2014 was the year of the Union Shield reverse design, not the Lincoln Memorial, so why did a small batch of coins appear with the older memorial design? The answer shocked even veteran coin dealers. Some believe these coins were struck from leftover dies that were never supposed to be used. Others whisper about secret test strikes that somehow slipped into circulation. Whatever the truth, the result was undeniable: a handful of 2014 pennies with no mint mark, carrying the wrong design, began surfacing in circulation. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a small auction in California, one of these coins appeared. At first, the bidding was modest. Hundreds of dollars. Then thousands. Then tens of thousands. The room grew tense. Collectors leaned forward, sweat on their brows, as the numbers climbed higher and higher. By the time the hammer fell, the coin had sold for an amount so staggering it was hard to believe, a sum pushing toward $1.5 million. Dealers were speechless. Ordinary people watching the auction from home were floored. And suddenly, everyone wanted to know, could they have one of these pennies in their own pocket change? This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. If you look closely, the design on these coins shouldn't exist. By 2014, the Lincoln Memorial reverse had been retired for years, replaced by the Union Shield. Yet here it was, standing proud on the back of a modern penny. No mint mark. No explanation. Just a quiet defiance of history, hiding in plain sight. That's what makes it priceless. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another collector from Texas shared his story online. He'd been sifting through rolls of pennies from his local bank. Hours passed, nothing unusual. Then suddenly, his eye caught a detail: the memorial building on the reverse, where none should exist. At first, he thought it was a mistake, maybe even a counterfeit. But when experts examined it, they confirmed the impossible. And his modest roll-searching hobby transformed into a once-in-a-lifetime payday. But wait, there's more. What most people don't know is that these coins often hide in the least likely places. Estate sales, old piggy banks, forgotten jars tucked away in garages. Collectors report finding them in circulation, mixed in with modern coins that look nearly identical. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these rarities, and some have even said this error could become one of the most valuable modern pennies ever discovered. Look closely. The front of the coin will show Abraham Lincoln, just like any other cent. But flip it over, and here's the giveaway: the reverse should show the Union Shield. If instead you see the Lincoln Memorial, you may have just uncovered one of the most elusive treasures of modern U.S. coinage. Now look again. Does the coin carry a mint mark? If it doesn't, if the space under the year 2014 is blank, then your heart should start pounding, because you may be staring at a penny worth up to $1.5 million, but the story doesn't end there. Collectors are still debating how many of these coins actually exist. Some claim only a handful. Others whisper there could be dozens waiting to be found. Every time a new discovery is made, the price climbs higher, because demand is through the roof. Imagine the thrill, knowing that you, out of millions of people, were the one to uncover this elusive piece of history. Most people who've ever held one of these coins never realized it. They spent it. They lost it. They let it slip through their hands, never knowing they had a fortune in their pocket, but not you. Not now, because now you know the secret. You know what to look for. That single detail, the Lincoln Memorial reverse on a 2014 penny with no mint mark, is the key. Check your pocket change. Check your jars. Check that old drawer where you toss loose coins, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.